Are you a collector who's running out of space? If so, this video might be for you. Let's get started. Hi everyone and welcome to One Six Figure Focus, and in this video we're going to talk about the space issue, because if you're a collector, the two main things that are actually limiting your collection or control the size of your collection: money and space. You can argue you can make more money, but you can't make more space, I suppose, unless you're going to move house or move your collection into a bigger room, like a basement, or maybe even you can kind of capitalize on the space you have by, I don't know, getting modular case or something like that. Typically, most collectors have a limited budget and limited space. Now, could be other factors that would limit your collecting, like, your wife or your husband or significant other. But the two main things: money and space. And this video is all about space and how you can maximize your space. Now, I can already see some of the comments. Shane, you're not running out of space. You could easily fit 42 more figures into each of those DTOV cubes. And I completely get that, but that's just not my style. I prefer 1, 2, maybe 3 in a cube. I prefer a clean look. That's just my style. That's the way I like to display my collection. Each to their own. We're all different. I just think cramming them on there just looks a little rough. And again, that's just my opinion. There's no right and wrong way to do that. There's only your way. But the hope of this video is simple. I want to outline some tips that I use and other collectors that I know use to kind of help you kind of manage the space you have available. So I'm working on I'm working on the kind of assumption that most of us have limited space. So the first thing you could do is you could change your display cases. Now, a lot of people, like I'm currently using DTOVs, obviously, but a lot of people make a transition. They start off with DTOVs and then they move on to modular cases or Costa cases, or they build their own cases, muscle racks, garage shelves, all that kind of stuff. Some fantastic creative solutions out there. But modular cases are a very, very, they're very, very popular, but they're also very expensive and they have a very big lead time and they take a while to put together. Now, most of the modular case displays that I have seen, in fairness, they look very tasteful, very classy, very beautiful, very well lit. And I can't rule out that maybe in the future I might go down the modular case route, but at the moment I'm happy enough with the DTOVs. Also, let's face it, not everyone has the patience to wait 6 to 18 months for modular cases, and not all of us can afford modular cases. They're quite expensive, the shipping's going to be expensive, the import charges are going to be expensive, and they're all considerations that you have to take in. But some of the advantages are you can actually, I believe, get onto modular space and kind of give them the dimensions and explain, I collect statues, quarter scale, 6 scale and 6 scale vehicles, and kind of, give you the numbers of things you have and the space you have available, and they'll actually customize it for you and you can work with them. I actually really like that particular idea. So one of the things you can do to save space is look at how you're displaying your collection, what cabinets or display case you're using, and if there's ones that you could upgrade to that would more efficiently use the space that you have available. I know Graham from the Jedi Knights Watch, like myself, used to have 5 DTOVs and he upgraded to modular cases. And one of the things he really likes is that for the same footprint of the 5 DTOVs, by putting modular cases in on that same footprint, he can actually more efficiently use space. He can fit more figures in, but use the same footprint as the 5 DTOVs. And that's something that resonated with me that he had said in previous videos. So that's one option. Look at the display cases you're using. Is there a more efficient option? The second thing you could do is you could ask your significant other if it's okay that you, like most of us, have like a basement or a collection room to work off. Another option is maybe you could do some aggressive expansion. Maybe you could get onto your husband or your wife or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, your partner, and maybe ask them, can you maybe display some of the collectibles in different rooms? Maybe like the living room or the bathroom. Best of luck. I don't recommend this particular tactic, but who knows? Maybe it will work for some people. Some couples share their collections. Maybe that would be more acceptable. Another example, then, this is one I use myself personally. You just take this one here, floating shelves. I was going to get this out of the way. I'll drop this down here so you can see. Floating shelves. So basically, I'm looking at the laptop here. I'm looking into a corner, and above me here you have this floating shelf display. So this particular photo was taken, maybe 3 days ago. These are IKEA lacks. They're about €5 or something like that, $5 to $8. I think maybe can't remember the price of them. I think they're somewhere between €5 and €8, $5 or $8, in around that kind of ballpark. They're very, very cheap, and they're very, very simple, and they're light, and they're very, very easy to install onto the wall. And if you can do it right, it does sustain a good bit of weight. So I've got like a bunch of different figures there. My endgame display on the left, and then Batman vs Superman on the right. And what this does is it just kind of gives me an alternative. It capitalizes on this wall space, capitalizes on some of the vertical space, and it gives you a different way of displaying things if you don't want to put things in module cases or muscle racks or details and stuff like that. So you're capitalizing on some available wall space that otherwise you wouldn't be able to put things on. Another things you do, I would actually say ditch the stands. Now I know that's a controversial one. My logic is that it not only gives you a cleaner look when you don't use stands, but it kind of, you just have to take up like the space of the feet of the figure, as opposed to having a big oval or a sand base or a diamond and, you know, that kind of stuff. Like, so for me, I don't use stands. There's two reasons: save a little bit of floor space on the detolf, and also because I think it actually looks better. There are occasions I do use stands. I know that not everyone has this option. You live on a fault line in LA or something like that where you get earthquakes, you don't have this option. If you've got creaky floorboards, you don't have this option. If you've got kids who run around, or maybe even like clumsy brothers and sisters who can bump into your cases, that's not an option. Okay, but I would personally ditch the stands, unless of course it's an amazing environmental base like that Bespin Luke. If you check out my channel, go to shorts, a few videos there, I wired up that Bespin Luke display base, and I gotta say, bring on more bases like that and I will use them. Other exceptions then, I use the round Inart Joker one. I just like the round base, very, very simple, elegant design. So yeah, get rid of the stands. Now this is kind of a, look, I had this on a live stream before, and like, a lot of people thought I was just mad for doing this, but if you have to pair, if you have to put more than one figure in the detolf cube, I know a lot of people like cram them in, and that's fine. Some people have 2 or 3, and that's fine. I tend to have one per shelf, but like sometimes I just want to pair figures up because it makes sense. So obviously, to capitalize on that detolf cube and those detolf spaces, it would make sense to put 2, maybe even 3 figures in the one cube. But I would argue, if you're going to do that, make sure that the pairings actually make sense. For example, in the center here you have the War Machine Mark 1, and you've got the Iron Man Mark 6. They're both lit up by fusion reactors there, and it makes sense because they're both of them shared screen time. Okay, also it acts as a centerpiece as well, because they're, you know, 2 very, very eye-catching Iron Man suits, and also the fusion reactors and stuff. That's kind of like prime real estate. If you've got 5 detolfs, the one in the middle tends to be prime real estate. And then you have the T-800 from Terminator 1 and the Battle Damage DX-13. Just makes sense. I know that they're obviously didn't share screen time, but you know, they're from the same IP. And of course, Boba and Mando. Also, if you look at the positionings on that, the kind of symmetry there, again, this is the OCD coming in, but you've got the 3 different cubes that are 4 actually technically, because you have the Deadpool underneath. This kind of forms like a diamond, kind of an aesthetically pleasing pattern that might be absolute nonsense to everyone else, but yeah, I find it works. And I don't always stick to that as well. I think I've actually since changed this, so this is currently not like that. But my point is, if you want to use up that available space and you are using detolfs or some sort of a cube, like, I don't know, Billy bookcases, or what are the other ones, it's like Kallax or whatever, if you're putting more than one figure in the one cube, like most of us would, kind of be selective with your pairings. Maybe pair figures that make sense to have paired next to each other together. Maybe that would make sense. The next thing you could do is rotate figures. Again, every time I make a video like this, you'd always have someone going, you know, Shane, you could fit like 5 more figures in that detolf. Shane, not everyone has the option to do that. Shane, stop pressuring people into having a clean display. I've got some strange comments. And again, it's all to do with what you like and what you don't like. So just because I'm doing mostly 1 figure per shelf doesn't mean it's the right way, doesn't mean you have to do that. Now, a lot of people will say, well, what happens if you've got 5 detolfs? That's 20 figures. What happens if you get 40, 60, 80? An option is to rotate figures. Now this is kind of, some people do this, some people don't, some people hate it, some people like it. You can rotate figures. So what that means is, if you want 1 figure per shelf and you have more figures than shelf space available, you can box some of them up leave them there for a while, come back in a few months then, maybe like, I don't know, once a month or once every 3 months, take a few figures out, box some of the ones up that you have, and then rotate them and put them in and out. It's a bit of hassle, but it keeps your display looking fresh. It's not the same 20 on display. You could like just move all 20 of them out and put 20 new ones in, or move 5 at a time and move them around. It's just an option. I first heard about that. It was Roy Visser on the 6-Scale Scavengers was the first person I heard talking about that, and I thought it was an interesting idea. The disadvantage is that then you've got these pieces which could cost anywhere from 250 to 400 euro or dollars sitting in a box in your attic or wherever you're storing them, or your storage space, and like part of that really doesn't make sense to me. So I suppose you have to weigh up what's more important, having 1 figure or 2 figures per shelf and a clean looking display, or having everything that you want displayed. So it's kind of weighing up the pros and cons, and again, no one can make that decision for you. It's up to yourself, but it's an option. Another one, kind of maybe a bit taboo. I personally don't find it too taboo. It's like, it's my collection, I'll do whatever I want with it. But you could sell some figures. Sometimes I have sold figures in the past. I don't like, typically when I buy something, I buy it with the intention of keeping it in my collection long term. But sometimes things happen and maybe I fall in and out of love with certain things and I might have to sell them on. Typically, if I have multiples of figures, sometimes I sell them on. That's one reason that I've sold in the past. I've had like 2 different upgraded suits, Spider-Man, sold them on. Other situations would be if you have a figure and a much superior version comes out and you really like that IP and you really like that character and you want the best version. For example, I sold the DX02, upgraded to the DX19. I had the MMS, I think it's 67 Joker, upgraded to Inart Joker. Like, they're no-brainers, you know? But that's an option. If there's a figure there that's sitting in the box that you really don't like anymore, you have a double of, or you simply changed your mind, that is an option as well. Use your collection to fund your collection, all that kind of stuff. Okay. Another option then is saving spaces with your art boxes. I've heard people say that their art boxes and their shipper boxes take up a lot of space. Now, some people like myself just dump the shipper boxes, because I think the shipper has one role: to get the item to your house. After that, I don't care what happens to it. But some people go a step further and get rid of the art boxes. I don't do that. I think the art box is kind of part of the figure as well. It helps if you want to, like I said, if you're rotating figures, you can simply put the figure and all the accessories back into the clamshell and then store it in the box with the protective, with the plastic around it. So there is an option. An extreme option would be to just dump all the shippers and all the art boxes. So there you don't have these shipper art boxes taking up space. That's one option. Some people do or don't like that. Okay, I personally don't do that. I get rid of the shippers, but I keep the art boxes, I keep all the accessories, I put them up in the plastic, and then I put them in these big IKEA drums. This is actually a thumbnail for a video I have on my channel if you want to check it out. And then I put them up in the attic because they're out of sight then. They're not taking up space, so that means there's more space in the collection room to actually display your collection, to display your figures. Some of the figures that I repose regularly, what I do is, instead of putting all the accessories in these boxes and putting up in the attic, I take all the accessories out and I put them in a little tackle box that I have in the collection room just for easy access. So like extra head sculpts or masks, extra weaponry, accessories, things like that, ponchos, cloaks, hoods and all that stuff, just for easy access. Some figures I just set and forget and I don't repose, but then other figures like the DX19 or the Beskar Mando or whoever, Cable, come with a lot of accessories, and I like to swap things in and out from time to time. So yeah, look, again, these are just things that I do to kind of maximize the space that I have. This is not the way to do it. This is just a way to do it, and these are things that I do myself. So yeah, there's no right and wrong way to do it. I hope maybe you got some sort of value out of this video, but anyway, that's the end of the video. If you want to support the channel, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, let me know how do you do things? How do you maximize space? Do you burn your shippers? Do you burn your art boxes? Do you keep everything? Do you display your art boxes? Do you cram 13 figures into the detolf? And that's okay if that's what you do. Okay, so yeah, that's it. You can follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter. That's it. End of the video. See you in the next one. Good luck.